Alright guys, so I'm back yet again with another deck profile from Cardfight Vanguard Dear Days on Nintendo Switch. So this time we're doing version 1 of my Lyrical Monasterio Kairi deck, which as always, version 1 is everything through the first additional card pass, so through Lyrical Booster 3 in this deck's case. And this deck is another grade 4 deck that plays very similarly to a lot of the classic Bermuda Triangle decks from the original series. It focuses on bouncing your rear guards back to your hand and then calling them back in order to gain extra attacks. So as usual, we will be going through the deck and then we'll show it in one card fight so you can see it in action. So starting first with our ride deck, we of course have our grade 0 starter, which is Astasice Mion. So when this unit is rode upon, if you win second, draw a card. Standard starter skill. Next up, we have our grade 1, which is Astasice Nanami. So her auto ability, when this unit is placed on Vanguard Circle, you may choose a grade 1 or less card from your drop and call it to Rearguard Circle as rest. So assuming you have a grade 1 or lower in your hand in order to discard to ride her, she can just call it right back to your field, and you essentially get a free ride out of it. So you just want to make sure you have that grade 1 or lower in your opening hand. So that's something you want to keep in mind for when you do your mulligan. But then she also has a second auto ability that says when this unit is placed on Rearguard Circle, this unit gets power plus 2000 until end of turn. So basic power up skill. Now, we're not running any extra copies of her in the main deck. However, we do have a way to superior call her from the soul. So this ability does occasionally come into play. Next up is our grade 2, which is Astasice Kiora. So her auto ability, when this unit attacks, choose one of your rear guards and you may return it to your hand. So just a simple bounce skill. You can use that to bounce back the thing that you called from your drop off a Nanami skill if you don't want it on your field. Or you can use it to reset any on-call abilities, whatever you need it for. But she also has a continuous ability when she's on Rearguard Circle that says during the battle this unit is boosted, this unit gets power plus 5000. So again, another power-up skill. And like with Nanami, we can superior call her from the soul, so it does occasionally come into play. And then lastly, for our grade 3, we have Astasice Kairi. So her auto ability, when this unit attacks, you can Soul Blast 1, choose up to 2 of your rear guards and return them to your hand. And then she has her second auto ability that says at the end of the battle this unit attacked, if you Persona Road this turn, choose up to 2 cards from your hand and call them to Rearguard Circle in different rows. So this card doesn't really do a lot without the Persona Ride. So if you're on turn 3 or whatever, basically all she can do is bounce 2 of your rear guards back to your hand. But if you do get the Persona Ride off, she does let you superior call 2 back to your field. Now they had to be in different rows, so most of the time you're just going to call a full column. So she can give you a 4th attack if you get the Persona Ride. However, a lot of the times we're not really concerned with getting the Persona Ride, because the first card in our main deck is 4 copies of our grade 4 Astasice Cross Live Kairi. So her continuous ability says all of your rear guards placed this turn get power plus 5000. And then she also has an auto ability that says when this unit attacks, if your soul has a card with Kairi in its card name, choose up to 2 of your rear guards, return them to your hand, choose 2 cards from your hand, and call them to Rearguard Circle. So this card is very much a better version of the grade 3 Kairi, letting you bounce and call 2 cards from your hand, which it doesn't have the restriction of them having to be in different rows, so you can bounce both your front row rear guards and call them right back if you need to. Letting this card guarantee you 5 attacks on her own, while also powering up any rear guards that you call that turn to make those attacks that much more strong. So, very, very powerful card. So, that is the only grade 4 we have in the deck, so moving on to the grade 3s. We are running 2 additional copies of the grade 3 Kairi, which are just there to be kind of a backup to have that Persona Ride option. If you don't draw into the Grade 4 Kairi, you might draw into the Grade 3 version, and you can go ahead and use her Persona Ride ability in order to at least get a 4th attack out of it. So it is pretty much there just to be a backup. If you do get the Grade 4, you can just use her for discard fodder for your Perfect Guard or what have you. And of course we are using the LSP, where we have the alternate art with Kairi in her mermaid form. So next to our Grade 3s, we're running 2 copies of Bashful Striver Kinky. So her auto ability, when this unit is placed on rearguard circle, choose a Grade 2 or less normal unit with Astasice and its card name from your drop, and you may put it into your soul. If you put a card into your soul, counterblast 1, and this unit gets power plus 10,000 until end of turn. So the main point of this card is just to recycle your ride line cards back into your soul. This deck does eat soul pretty quickly, so being able to refuel your soul like that can be pretty useful. The power gain from the counterblast I actually don't use real often. It's there if you need it, so if your opponent gets like a defensive trigger and you need that extra power to be able to hit them, you do have the option. Although most of the time my counterblast ends up going towards other skills, so it's there if you need it, but I usually don't end up having to use it. So that's all of our Grade 3s. Moving on to the Grade 2s. First off, we have 4 copies of Looking Up Pranks As Me. So her auto ability, when your Vanguard with Kairi and his card name attacks, you can counterblast 1, return this unit to your hand, choose up to 1 Looking Up Pranks As Me from your hand and call it to an open rearguard circle, and if you called it, choose one of your Vanguards and it gets power plus 5,000 until end of turn. So this is a very useful card in this deck. It's a key part of your offense. She can basically just bounce herself back to your hand and then call herself right back. So she can give you a 4th attack on turn 3 to help make that turn a little less vanilla. Additionally, once you are on Grade 4 Kairi, she can reset herself, which allows you to use Kairi's skill to bounce your other front row rearguard and one of your back row rearguards in order for you to call a booster as well. So one of your rearguard attacks can be that much more powerful. So very helpful in strengthening your offense. So next we have 4 copies of Charming Style Cecilia. So her auto ability, when this unit's placed on rearguard circle from hand, if you have 3 or more other rearguards, you can counterblast 1 and draw a card. So this card is your main draw engine of the deck. I am running only Cecilia. Now some people like to use Melty, that one friend support card, which it's really kind of player preference of which one you want to use. Both of them have their advantages and disadvantages. Cecilia, as you can see, is a 9k base, so she can be a little bit weaker in terms of offense. And she also requires you to have 3 or more other rearguards already out on the field in order to get the draw. However, Cecilia can be used at any time in your turn, so if you call her during your main phase, you can use her skill. Or if you superior call her during your battle phase with Kairi's skill, you can use it then as well. Melty, on the other hand, while being a standard 10k base, she is main phase only, so you can't use her during the battle phase with Kairi's skill. And she also requires you to call another rearguard from your hand when you call her, similar to how Alden's skill works, in order to get the draw. So it's pretty much up to you whichever one you want to use, or if you want to go like 2 and 2 and use both. You have some options there with however you want to approach that. Personally, I just prefer going with the 4 Cecilia. So that is all of our Grade 2s. Moving on to the Grade 1s. First off, we have 3 copies of Next Step La Plume. So her auto ability, when this unit is placed on rearguard circle, if you have a Vanguard with Astasice in its card name, choose a Grade 2 or less card with Astasice in its card name from your soul, and you may call it to an open rearguard circle as rest. If you called it during your battle phase, you can stay in that called unit. So this is the card I mentioned before that lets us call our ride line cards out from our soul to rearguard circle. Which this card is mainly here to combo with Asmi and Yuika, who we'll be going over in a second. So if you have Asmi and whoever else in your front row, along with LaPlume and Yuika on your left and right back row rearguard circles, what you can do is Yuika can bounce who is ever in front of her when she boosts. So have Yuika bounce whoever's in front of her, have Asmi bounce and reset herself, and then you can use grade 4 Kairi skill in order to bounce Yuika and LaPlume back to your hand and then call them right back, which will let you use LaPlume's skill to superior call Kiora from your soul, and then you'll end up with 2 rearguard columns that are fully standing and at full power, and all gain the power gain from Kairi's skill because they were all called that turn. So you can end up with 2 full blast rearguard attacks if you can pull that combo off, which does require 3 pieces, but it isn't too hard to do, so if you can get that, that is a pretty powerful move to make. So next we're running 3 copies of Conspicuous Anxiety Kadia. So her auto ability, when this unit is placed on rearguard circle, if you have a Vanguard with Asticise in its card name, this unit gets power plus 10,000 until end of turn. So this card is a 5k base, but when you call her, she immediately goes up to 15, 20 if you're on grade 4 Kairi. So she can be a good booster, she can be a good beat stick. Now all that power gain wears off at the end of the turn, but of course you can use your various skills to bounce her back to your hand and reset her if need be. So next we are running 4 copies of Cooling Heart Yuika. So her auto ability, once per turn, when your other unit in the same column as this unit is placed, if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, this unit gets power plus 5,000 until end of turn. So good power up skill that does stack with Kairi's if you call her and whoever's in front of her in the same turn. And then her other auto ability says at the end of the battle this unit boosted their rearguard. You Soul Blast 1 to choose one of the boosted rearguards and return it to your hand. So like I said, this is a key part of that strategy I mentioned before with LaPlume in order to pull off that combo. And she can just be a powerful booster or even an attacker if you really need her to be, being able to hit 18k if you call her and the one in front of her in the same turn. So very versatile card, pretty useful overall. So then lastly for our grade 1s, we just have our Sentinels. So we have 4 copies of Diva of Refreshing Calm Christine. So standard perfect guard. And of course, again, is a grade 4 deck, so no Elementaria Sanctitude, since it only works if your Vanguard's grade 3 or lower. So that's all the grade 1s. Moving on to the grade 0s, so we just have our trigger lineup, which is 7 crit, 4 draw, 4 heal, and 1 over. So starting with the crit triggers, first off we have 4 copies of Asticise Misa, so just your vanilla crit. Additionally, we have 3 copies of Precious Tune Edwidge. So it's a crit with a skill. At the end of the battle boosted, you can put it into your soul, give somebody plus 2k. So it's an option. If you need the extra soul, you can use it and shove her into your soul to gain that extra resource. If you want to run 4 of this and 3 of Misa, you can, but I don't really find it necessary. So next for our draw triggers, we have 4 copies of Transparent Snowy Night Baratoy. So it's the 10k shield draw trigger, definitely the one you want for the extra shield power. And then for our heals, we have 4 copies of Asticise Kanami. So just the vanilla heal, as always, if you want to run the effect ones, you can. And then lastly, our over trigger is 1 copy of Mysterious Twins Romia and Rumia. So their additional effect during this fight, you get a skill that says during your turn, all of your rearguards get power plus 10,000. So this is one of those skills that gives you, the fighter, a skill that powers up all your rear guards for the rest of the game, which is extremely powerful, especially in a deck like this, which focuses on giving you extra rear guard attacks. So making all of those rear guards that much stronger is a very, very devastating skill. So that is the deck, so we will go ahead and have our one fight. And let's see, we'll face Toya. And we are going first. So we'll drop one of the 3 Yuikas in our hand to ride Nanami, and then use Nanami's skill to revive that Yuika right back to her field. And then we can just end our turn. And we'll let that through. Alright, so we'll drop another Yuika to ride Kiora. And then we can just call Asmi from our hand. And we'll go ahead and attack with Asmi first. And we're not going to use Yuika's skill because we can attack with Kiora and use her skill instead to return Asmi to her hand for free. And we get a crit trigger. So that'll put him to 3. Which I did attempt to make a grade 3 Persona Ride focused variant of this deck as well, using Aerith, but there was just no way I could make it not shitty. I tried a lot of things. I actually did find a ridiculous combo you could pull off to actually do 7 attacks in one turn, but it was so piece reliance and resource heavy that it wound up just being pretty sucky. And I think I'll let that one through too. Alright, so let's drop La Plume to ride Kairi. And then we'll call Asmi, as well as La Plume from our hand. And we're not going to use her skill right now. But we'll call Cecilia and use her skill to counterblast and draw. And I think we'll go ahead and call Yuika as well. And I think we are good. So we'll attack with Cecilia first. And we're not going to use Yuika's skill. So we'll attack with Asmi next. And then we can attack with Kairi. And use Kairi's skill to Soul Blast. And bounce this column back to her hand. And use Asmi's skill to Counter Blast. And bounce herself and call her right back to give Kairi an extra 5k. And he guards. And we get a crit trigger, nice. So we'll give those to Asmi. And then have Asmi attack his Vanguard. And he has to guard with his over trigger. He's gonna play a set order to give his grade 3's boost. And let's see. We'll guard and intercept that one actually. And we'll guard that one as well. That's 2 to pass. There's 1. But he gave it to his rear guard. And he got his grade 3. So he can restand his rear guard. And I think we're going to have to let that one through, actually. And we'll let that one through, too. And then we draw the heal. Alright, so now we can ride our grade 4. Asticise Cross Live Kairi, which will trigger Yuika's skill to gain 5k. So we can call Yuika back, and we can call Asmi back, and we can call Cecilia back, which again will trigger our other Yuika skill to give her 5k as well. And we can use Cecilia's skill again to counter blast and draw. And I think we are good, so we will attack with Cecilia first. And he gets a heal trigger, which he doesn't get, but it gets the power. And we will use Yuika's skill this time to Soul Blast. And return Cecilia to her hand. So then we can attack with Asmi, who has just enough to hit. Any guards. So then we can attack with Kairi. And we'll use Asmi's skill to counterblast. We can bounce her and call her back, giving both her and Kairi an extra 5k. And then use Kairi's skill to bounce La Plume and Yuika, and call both of them right back. And then we can use La Plume's skill to call Kiora from our soul, getting both our rear guard columns to full strength, and giving Yuika 5k once again. That's a perfect guards, or Vanguard attack. And we get a crit trigger, so we will give both of those to Asmi. And then we'll attack with Kiora. We'll gain an extra 5k since she's being boosted. Need perfect guards again. And we're not going to use Yuika's skill. So then we can attack with Asmi for 38,002 crit. Oh, and he's got to let it through. And we got him with that one. Alright. So there you go. That was our Kairi deck. This deck is pretty fun to play. It does very much remind me of playing those old Bermuda Triangle decks from back in the day. But yeah, I guess that's all we got for this video. So lots of luck to you and yours.